Why do space battles in Squadron 42 look like jet dogfights? A lot of the comments and criticisms I've seen have been the same. Ships fly like planes, catapults in 0G, fireballs in space, and fleets waiting to be attacked. Are these embarrassing mistakes or deliberate choices? Let's break it all down using military doctrine, hard science, and a little cinematic logic. This is what makes sci-fi fascinating. Everybody has an opinion. Some want strict realism, others want cinematic chaos. And the truth? Well, both approaches can work. But Squadron 42's decisions weren't random. They're a mix of readability, spectacle, and sometimes logic. So let's break it down piece by piece. A lot of comments called out how the fleet sat quietly while enemy ships crawled out of the nebula. And honestly, I completely agree. In the Army, we're taught violence of action. When you commit fully. Speed, surprise, and overwhelming force. Waiting for the enemy to shoot first, that's hesitation, and hesitation is what gets people killed. Sure, directors use it to build suspense, but in reality, you don't let your opponent set the tempo. You don't politely wait for them to finish their dramatic entrance. You strike first, and you strike hard. In combat, seconds decide whether your squad walks away or never comes home. Waiting for the first shot, that's a luxury that you don't get in real war. The biggest complaint was that ships fly like airplanes in space. There's no lift, no atmosphere, no need to bank. Real spaceships would strafe with thrusters spinning on 6 axes. Now, if you've watched The Expanse, you've seen this done right. It's probably the most scientifically accurate portrayal of space combat ever filmed. No sound in the vacuum, ships flipping on thrusters, Newton's laws on full display. It was brilliant, but it was also a design choice. That's the style that they wanted. Squadron 42, it goes the other way. It wants chaos you can follow. Dogfights are cinematic shorthand. Audiences instantly understand who's diving, who's breaking off, and who's locked on someone's 6. If CIG filmed 6-axis drifting for every engagement, it would look authentic, but most players would be lost in the noise. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't have made it look realistic, but this was the design choice they were aiming for. Dogfights look cool, they feel familiar, and they give your brain a way to track the story of a battle. And about the wings, why have wings in space? Well, that answer is simple. Many of these fighters are dual role. They're designed to dominate an atmosphere as well as space. Obviously, wings give lift, control, and weapons hardpoints. So yes, they're unnecessary in 0G, but in the lore, they serve a purpose. And honestly, they just look badass, and the rule of cool wins once again. A Hornet banking through a nebula may not obey Newton, but it sure as hell sells the fury of battle. Next, the ever-despised electromagnetic catapult. A lot of comments said, this makes no sense in 0G. Just drift out and hit the throttle. On the surface, that's absolutely true. But here's the thing, catapults can actually make sense. They aren't just about acceleration. They're also about safety and discipline. A launch rail hurls the fighter clear of the bay instantly, removing the risk of a pilot overcorrecting and slamming into the carrier. In aviation, there's a thing called PIO, or pilot-induced oscillation, where overcorrection creates a dangerous feedback loop. In space, that mistake could destroy a fighter and cripple a carrier. The catapult eliminates that danger by giving a clean, controlled launch vector every time. And this isn't just theory. They also do this in the Navy. When an F-18 launches off a carrier deck, the pilot's hands are off the stick during launch. The avionics handle the initial climb, pulling the nose up just enough once clear of the deck to avoid disaster. Only once the jet is airborne and stable does the pilot go hands-on again. To make it even safer, the carrier itself turns into the wind, adding lift to ensure that the aircraft gets off the deck cleanly every single time. So yes, in space, you don't technically need a catapult. As a safety system, it absolutely makes sense. And cinematically, watching a fighter streak into the void on a rail of blue energy feels powerful. It's ritual, spectacle, and discipline rolled into one. And finally, fireballs. Because in a vacuum, there's no oxygen to sustain combustion. What you'd actually see is a venting atmosphere, sparks of plasma, maybe a quick flash before it snuffs out. But on screen, explosions give impact. Their punctuation, they tell the audience instantly that ship is gone. It may not be textbook physics, but it's cinematic clarity. And besides, at the end of the day, it's a game. Not everything has to be chained to realism. Sometimes the goal isn't perfect physics. It's giving you a moment that feels larger than life. A moment that makes you lean forward in your chair and think, that was epic. So here's the verdict. If we're grading against hard science, Squadron 42 bends the rules in some areas and completely ignores them in others. Ships shouldn't bank like jets. Wings aren't necessary in zero-G. Catapults aren't required, and fireballs are pure Hollywood spectacle. But each choice has a reason, some grounded in logic, others in readability, and many in pure spectacle. The Expanse proved realistic space combat can look incredible. But Squadron 42's cinematic style isn't wrong either. It's just a different approach to telling the story of war. So the real question is, what do you want to see? Silent, surgical realism, or the cinematic chaos that makes battles feel alive? Now, if you want more grounded breakdowns like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the creation of these videos, consider joining as a member. Members get recognition in every video, access to members-only channels in my Discord, direct input on future topics, and more. It's the best way to support what I do here. And if you haven't already, check out my latest Patch Pulse video for update 4.3.1. It's a rapid-fire look at everything coming up in the next patch this month. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.